Finally tonight, a gruesome photo of a young woman kidnapped from her residence, gang raped and brutally murdered has shocked residents in the National Capital District. Now, residents are now calling for the introduction of the Vagrancy Act to curb the rising crime in the nation's capital and surrounding Central Province. A shocked Prime Minister, James Marape, described the incident as inhuman, barbaric, and totally unacceptable in our society. Opposition leader and other members of parliament have also called for a shift in the approach in addressing crime in the city and across the nation. Mark Kayok has the details.
Kidnappings, rape, and brutal murder of women and young girls in the National Capital District remains a grave concern for residents in the city. In general, escalating crime rate not only in the nation's capital but in urban centers questions the inability of the government and authorities concerned in addressing crime. The pitiless and inhuman death of a young woman over the weekend, days after the torture and murder of a mother of two, raises serious concerns. A shocked Prime Minister described the crime as inhuman, barbaric, and totally unacceptable in our society. Assuring residents in NCD and the country, the Prime Minister warned that the government will spare no effort in ensuring that those responsible for these terrible crimes are swiftly brought to justice. Instructions were issued to law enforcement agencies to leave no stone unturned in their investigations. Settlements mushrooming at the notorious Baruni dump were bulldozed over the weekend. That area was blocked off as the crime scene. These shanty homes have become safe havens for criminals. Prime Minister Marape has shown his government's support towards the eviction of illegal settlements. He has instructed law enforcement agencies to properly investigate the case, stressing that criminals responsible for such cowardly acts must be caught and punished according to the law. He also conveyed his deepest condolences to the family of the victim and assured them that the government stands with them in their time of grief. The opposition has also slammed the increase in lawlessness and the reactive approach by the government and those responsible in dealing with perpetrators. Opposition leader Douglas Tumoriusa described the actions of perpetrators last Saturday in the Moresby Northwest electorate as animalistic. He slammed the government's handling of the law and order crisis in the country, and the recent incident has questioned the increased police budget of about 700 million kina for this year with no tangible outcomes.
But he has to crack the whip and say, Police Commissioner, you're not doing enough, okay? And if the Police Commissioner is not doing enough, investigate why he's not doing enough. Find out why the police department is not doing enough. We cannot be addressing every time an issue comes up and we get a battalion of army and police to go inside and erase those settlements and kill our people. We need to deal head on. If it's a criminal matter, deal with it as a criminal matter. Deal with it as a matter of urgency. You cannot sit down until something happens and a second time or third time they've raped the young girls like this and killed them. And we in this country have lost respect of our sisters, our mothers, and the women folk in our nation. We have lost respect of women in this country. We treat women as if they are not part of this nation.
The opposition has also called for a more proactive approach to dealing with the increasing law and order issues in the country. When commenting on the calls for reintroduction of the Vagrancy Act, says there are already enough laws in place, however, implementation is lacking.
We have enough laws. We have enough laws with the police department. We have enough laws with all sectors, provincial affairs and all sectors. All we need to now do is look at those laws and enforce them. Our problem here is not so much of having more laws, but it is the enactment of current laws that we have. You with me?
Yes, yes.
So it's not about new laws. You can come up with the Vagrancy Act and bring it and try to enforce it. But enforcing of those laws will just become another stockpile of laws on the shelf, gathering dust. What we need now is we have sufficient laws already. What you need is enforcement.
So far, only 2 people have been brought in for questioning over the Baruni murder. Here Koyari MP Kate Idhu wants the government's focus directed towards sending people back to their home provinces. Such he believes would address the growing social issues in urban areas. He's also called on Prime Minister and the National Executive Council to immediately halt the Connect PNG program and prioritize a nationwide repatriation initiative. The government's focus must urgently shift towards sending people back to their home provinces in order to address growing social issues in urban areas. The uncontrolled movement of people into cities without proper planning has fueled rising crime rates and hampered law enforcement efforts. Idu believes a national repatriation program would alleviate pressure on cities and help the police restore law and order.
And that's how we end the show tonight. The team returns at the same time tomorrow night. Until then, I'm Jerry Tabe. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.